moving situations. Interesting though, just hearing on the news that the G7 has agreed to start taxing Microsoft and Facebook and et cetera, so that countries can actually make money out of it, which I think is really good. Because we've seen lots of news agencies just go to pot as a result, especially here in New Zealand. And the NewsWatch is here. We've got a few, again, it's still kind of quiet news, but on Wednesday we've got a high impact with the CAD coming out. And on Thursday we've got the Euro being high impact as well, just before the New York Open. I don't know that there's much more to say about all this.
Yeah, just one thing, Chris. So Sunday, so tomorrow, it is a bank holiday in New Zealand. I suppose you will celebrate it because it is an important bank holiday. It is the Queen's birthday.
Oh, of course, yes.
I suppose it's Queen Elizabeth. So
yes, we have only got one.
You have to celebrate because she's there for a long time, at least 500 years, no, if I remember.
She has been. It seems like it, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool, really. It's going to be really interesting when she dies. What happens? Like Prince Philip.
God save the Queen, indeed. God save the Queen.
But she doesn't have that much influence over New Zealand. There is a figurehead here called a Governor General, and essentially we run our own. But anyway.
No, I think it's just a symbolic role, in fact.
Yeah, there was. I'm not too sure if it's changed, but we used to have courts in the UK. So if New Zealand ran out of legalness, if you were suing somebody or there was a big court case, then we would go to the Privy Council in the UK for judging. But I think we brought all that back to New Zealand as well. I'm not too sure if we still go over there. But anyway, okay. Right, so that's that, the NewsWatch and Mrs. Queen. The top pairs per day. And what else? I think that's it. And a few smooth movers. Not much change from last week, except the Euro Pound has been added. Okay, so if you've got any questions, let me know. But it's all up there, ready and waiting. And the NewsWatch emails are flying out as we speak, kind of thing. What else? Okay, I'll just flip that over to the side. So does anybody have any questions? If you do, please type them up. And if you want to be unmuted, let us know. And Nathan sent through a missive to me, which is good. Be more careful with drawing the stop-loss line. I'll try and do that, but only if you do it with your homework, Nathan. Should see some of the homeworks I see. And not looking at you, Stefan, at all. Seems like dumped on you last week. I thought I'd have another go, even if you're not here. No, you're not here. So, surprise in the video for you. I'm not too sure what you mean by the toolbars. Like, I do place them up here, but you can pull the toolbars up if you want and just place them on the chart wherever you like.
No, in fact, Chris, very often by default, all the toolbars are displayed on just two lines on MetaTrader. But you have aligned all the toolbars on the same line on the top of the screen. Yeah, this makes the chart a bit larger. Yeah.
Yep. And you can modify these as well. If you go to see that little dashy thing on the side, it's also at the beginning of that one and at the beginning of this one here. If you right-click on it, you come down to Customize and you can change what tools you have over in here. So if I get rid of for instance, this thing, the arrows, hit remove, and they disappear from up here. So, and if I want to put a trend line, ta-da, they go back up there. So you can modify each one of these. Sometimes I chop out the month. If I've only got a small chart space, I'll prune some of the the things out, like right-click, customize, and now I can remove the month. And I don't use the weekly that much, so I can take that out as well. So it gives me more space up along here. Okay, hot tips. And when I've got a whole pile of charts open and I'm trying to draw lines on them, I pull this down into the center so that I don't have so far to go when I'm drawing my lines. So I can, anyway, have a play with it. Just makes it central.
The general rule is play with the configuration of your screen in such a way that you feel extremely comfortable when you trade, because this is the main point. And one thing which is good for someone is not necessarily good for someone else. So make some experiment. It took me 2 or 3 years to find the correct configuration of my monitors to feel very, very comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I always felt a bit inadequate when people would say, oh, I've just got this new platform and it's such and such and I'm using it really well. And I was thinking, wow, it takes me sort of weeks to get used to a new chart or something like that. I even knew one woman who was testing out robots back in my let's test out some robots days. And she would have like 3 or 4 robots that she'd managed to find in the morning, and by the afternoon she said, no, these don't work, and she'd be off onto something else. I don't know how she could do that when she needed to go through a whole pile of you've got to watch these things as well. It's not fast. So we were just talking about you, Nathan, if you can hear. Yes, you can hear. So I'll bring your email up again. So I'll try to remember to draw the stop loss line. The toolbars we just went through, Nathan. Let's see, you've just popped up down here. And the scrolling party. When you're doing the NewsWatch table, is it okay to freeze the screens? Yes, thank you. I'd forgotten all about that. I'm trying to. It's a bit messier. Eventually we'll get it sorted out. But it would be nice to freeze one half of the chart and scroll up and down with the other half. But I have to rearrange the charts in order to be able to do it properly. But that's all changing as we speak. Anyway, and can the max indicator source code be sent to me? Yes, I'll do it either straight after this, if I remember, or email me again, because I'll be driving out of the city and won't be near my PC for a couple of days straight after this. So hassle me, Nathan. Tomorrow, standard scrolling. Can Eusebio go why he went short on the pound Aussie? So we're hitting the real stuff. Eusebio, why did you go short on the pound Aussie after the news release, which has no surprise on the US dollar or CAD?
In fact, so the non-farm payroll on the US dollar was somewhat disappointing. So not a big surprise. And so we have seen the US dollar weakening. So, and very often, especially now that we are after the Brexit, we are in the post-Brexit period, as it was the case before the Brexit came out as a subject, a serious subject in UK, the pound was often correlated to the US dollar. So when the US dollar was strong, the pound had a tendency to be strong, and vice versa. And it seems that this behavior comes back, in fact. And so what has happened with the non-farm payroll is the US dollar has weakened, being one of the weakest currency, and the pound having an average strength. But at the same time, the Aussie was the strongest currency. And so it has become the strongest currency. And so this has changed, in fact, the market sentiment for the pound Aussie from an uptrend to a downtrend. And this is why I have chosen to short the pound Aussie, which was one of the most important momentum pair at that moment. So among the best movers.
Okay, that's cool. So the unemployment rate was okay.
The unemployment rate has not changed significantly. It has been a bit better, but not significantly. Only 0.1%, so not enough to create a positive deviation. The non-farm payroll itself was disappointing, so it was negative, and the average hourly earnings was better than expected. So we had contradictory information, but the market was expecting, you can see that the forecast 645K was expecting better numbers. So it has been a disappointment so in the market.
So the US dropped and took the pound with it.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, that's cool. So the other part that hope that helps, Nathan. If you want to be unmuted, Nathan, most welcome. So the other part of your question is, here we go. Oh, sorry, I should bring it up. You've asked about the currency meters. So while Eusebio was trading, he showed some strength meters using lines. So a couple of different strength meters, and they're listed down here. Yes, Nathan. Let me bring this back up. So do you want to explain what you're looking for a big surprise out of the non-farm, Eusebio?
Yes, indeed. In order to have a positive non-farm payroll, so strengthening the US dollar, we need the non-farm payroll way better than the forecast. Typically minimum 25%, 30% more than the forecast, and we need to have an employment rate lower than the forecast, minimum 0.2% lower. And so this will be a positive deviation, and if we have a better average hourly earnings than the forecast, this will be better. In the opposite direction, if we have a bad negative non-farm payroll, less than 25%, 30% than the forecast, we need to have a worse unemployment rate by minimum 0.2% above the forecast, and a smaller average hourly earnings to have so a negative non-farm payroll, with a big surprise. And in this case, the US dollar will weaken. In the first case, it will strengthen most of the time. Not 100% of the time, because sometimes the market anticipates what may happen, and if the market has anticipated too much, there may be a reaction, a pullback in the opposite direction. And so this is why it's always interesting to observe what the US dollar pairs have made a few hours before the non-farm payroll. This is why, so sometimes, even with a big surprise, the price moves in the opposite direction. So, and there may be other news which released on the previous days, 2, 3, 4 days, 1 week ago, which may be extremely important, like the GDP, like the interest rates, and if they have changed dramatically, they can supersede the non-farm payroll, in fact. So this is why the news release interpretation and analysis are always a bit complex.
Okay. It disappears every now and then, Nathan, but sure. Keep reminding me.